passwords and PIN codes, period. So secure email, secure password is what I'm going to talk about. And for those who didn't attend PasswordsCon in Oslo in Norway in 2012, we had Markus Durmot from the University in Bochum in Germany, and he introduced the use of kittens in your slides, essentially saying that this talk or the next couple of slides are supposed to be easy to understand background information. And if that is boring, here's a nice picture of a kitten for you instead. So that's, that's a way to do your talks a little bit more engaging to the audience. Use pictures of kittens. Now, the thing here is that many, many years ago, at some undisclosed location in Norway, I was working for a large company, and we had guidelines on doing classification of information. We had 4 levels, everything from this information can be shared with anyone, to this information is so friggin' secret, not even the CEO is allowed to have a look at it. We also had, in this company, we actually had an in-house developed Outlook plugin. So when you clicked the send button, you would actually be presented with a dialog box asking you, what is the classification level for this email? The only thing the plugin did, of course, was to insert a little bit of information into the email header, saying that this is classified, like open information, internal information, secret, top secret, or whatever you want to call it. And we also had a security policy that were being, we told people about this. And we said that, well, if the information has, a classification level from, C+ or up, going from A, B, C, and D, C or higher, they had to be encrypted. The information had to be encrypted. Now, how do you encrypt paper? It's kind of difficult. How do you encrypt email? And that was a problem. We told all the employees, you need to encrypt your email, but we didn't have any solution in place. So, if we wanted to fire anyone, it would be very easy. Did you send any classified information today? Yes. Okay, well, you're fired because you don't have an encryption solution for it, period. So we started to look into tools that we could use to do email encryption. And the problem, of course, is that PGP and absolutely everything else, as far as I have seen in the market today, is user experience hell. It's very difficult to use. And I mean that in the context of both as security professional, but also for normal, normal human beings. They prefer to use Outlook or whatever they use as a mail client exactly the way they do today. They don't want any changes in an email client to comply with security, because it's difficult and you need to teach them how to do it and why you want them to encrypt email, as an example. So, and we're also thinking about, I mean, do we have any classified information that is actually coming into or leaving the company, which is highly classified? Do we have that? I mean, have we ever, searched for it? We do have a theory, but can we confirm it? And we also, I mean, we give a lot of thought to the user usability perspective of security, encryption, mail clients, and so on. So, to do the simple risk analysis, I usually do my risk analysis the incredibly easy way. So I just ran this command at the internet connection of a really large company. And essentially what I do here is that I do a network graph looking at TCP port 25, which is SMTP traffic, standard email, and I look for the word password. And if I have a match, I would be printed out on the screen the entire text line that contains the word password. And if you do that at the internet gateway of any large company, or small company even, or government organization, it's going to be just like a couple of seconds before you see text lines flying over the line saying, here's your password, here's the password you requested, here's your username and your password on one single line. So I mean, to do the risk analysis, I had to do, network sniffing for a couple of seconds, and then I could go back and say, yes, we do need some kind of email encryption in place here. Because there are tons of passwords, thousands of passwords passing by every day in and out of this company. personal passwords that are being used by employees for personal services. There are employees receiving access to external systems that we are dependent on. We have help desk functions within the company that are sending plaintext passwords to people outside the organization by email. Here's the password you requested. Here's the logon link. This is your username. And if you need any help, just call us. So again, looking into options on this, you can do end-to-end encryption, like using PGP. You will have to generate your own key, your own certificate, have a password, passphrase, anything protecting it. And the recipient or the sender at the other end needs the same thing. Now, initially, we wanted to avoid that because we knew it's going to be usability hell, period. And the next thing you can do, which is not as good security, is to do server-to-server encryption, like to make this encryption happen transparently to the end users. And this goes all the way back to, I was, looking into this back in 2001, 2002. And some colleagues of mine said, hey, have you considered, deploying RFC 3207 StarTLS support for SMTP? No, that's one of the ones we haven't looked into. And we did. And RFC 3207 came in 2001. The first iteration was 2487, which came in 1998, if I remember correctly. And it's opportunistic encryption between two mail servers. It's transparent to the end user. You will not notice anything. There are no buttons to press. There's no change in your mail client. Nothing. It doesn't require any changes. There's no license to be paid. It's an internet standard, and there are no competitors to this. It's an RFC, and it's a standard, period. One of the things about this RFC is that it also says that this is opportunistic encryption. It means that I want to send an email to you, dear mail server. Do you support StarTLS? The other server will say, I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. And then the RFC requires you to send the email by plaintext. And you have to comply with that publicly on the internet. That's the drawback of this one. So what I did is, I started working internally in the company and also with customers to convince them to deploy support for StarTLS. And we deployed it, and we did it pretty fast. And in the spring 2010, I was talking to a colleague of mine, a friend, and some other guys as well. Should we try to do a mapping of what is it, how well is this supported on the internet? So we tested 345,000 domains, out of which approximately 82,000 were Norwegian. We did a report that is available, but it's only in Norwegian. Sorry about that. And we found that approximately 16% of all domains in Norway in 2010 had support for StarTLS. But on average, 13% would support StarTLS, which was, not good at all. And we also discovered, as an example, that the Prime Minister's office in Norway, they had a Cisco ironport mail appliance in place, and they were using the default demo StarTLS or SSL certificate, which is issued by Cisco to Cisco. So, dear Prime Minister, here's an email for you, and the mail server responds like, hey, and welcome to Cisco Systems in California, in the US. And of course, the certificate had expired as well. So the biggest financial newspaper in Norway really enjoyed, doing a story saying that the Prime Minister's office is using fake ID. And we also found that a political left side socialist party in Norway, they also had StarTLS available on a mail server, but the SSL certificate had expired. It was a self-issued certificate, and it was issued to the Office of Complication of Otherwise Simple Affairs. That's pretty good for a socialist political party, I would say. And the mail server name was Marvin. So for those of you who have read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there you have it. We actually did make some nice headlines out of this one. So to skip a little bit forward in history to earlier this spring, I talked to a friend of mine in Oslo, Einar Otto Stangvik, and we were having pizza and a soda, and I said to him, well, you know, I really want to move forward with this Start TLS. You know, I told myself back in, you know, like 2002, 2003 that, you know, I'm going to convince the entire world to actually deploy support for this internet standard. And I can't do any kind of programming whatsoever. And I really, really want a website that can do automated testing of domains in a very easy way to see if they have Start TLS support and to tell me if that Start TLS support is actually configured correctly or not. So he created starttls.info that is absolutely free to use, and you just yeah, thanks. I'll give it to Einar, and it looks like this. It's pretty easy. Just enter in any kind of domain name like nsa.gov as an example. You know, not to give any specific examples, but you could try that one, or eff.org, and have a look at the results. And here's for another completely random example, like Sajida Systems, Jeremy. We are using a grading score that is essentially based on the grading system used by Qualys and SSL Labs. Now that really can't be transferred into the world of Start TLS security. There are big differences between, you know, mandatory HTTPS encryption and opportunistic SMTP encryption, but still we are using that to grade systems. It's also interesting to see that a lot of vendors out there, like Cisco with the Ironport appliance and also Barracuda Networks that I have also been talking to, they do not support TLS 1.1 or 1.2. They essentially give you SSL version 2, version 3, and TLS version 1 support, period. And Barracuda Networks have promised me that they will look into it, and maybe sometime within the end of this year, they will have TLS 1.1 and 1.2 support. So we need to convince a lot of companies still to do this properly. And also for Cypher Suite support, there's also discussion going on with lots of people, especially on the, I tried sending a couple of emails to the Postfix users mailing list. And the big discussion is, no matter which Cypher Suites we support, any Cypher Suite will be better than plain text. That's what the Postfix users people will tell you. My opinion, you know, it's okay with 40-bit DES export encryption using SSL version 2. In my world, that's really not good encryption anymore. So you know, my recommendation, I would say that we should not deploy SSL version 2 encryption as an example for Start TLS support on mail servers. So then I just headed out into the world of Twitter and said, hey, Bcrypt, EFF, Christopher Soghoian at ACLU, you should have a look at this. And we also pulled the top 1 million website list from Alexa. And then we scripted to run through all of them and collect the results. So we could do statistics, and you can look at the statistics on the site as well. And I'm really, really happy now to point out the Google Transparency Report, because they now have numbers on which domains are sending and receiving mail from Google Mail using Start TLS. And as far as I've seen from EFF, and especially from Christopher at ACLU, they are really getting annoying towards companies who doesn't have Start TLS support yet. And I'm really, really happy to see that happening. So essentially what we have done since 2002, 2003 is that today I would say that tens, hundreds of millions of emails every day are now being encrypted while in transit over the internet. And just a couple of months ago, most of them would actually go unencrypted. And that's a massive move towards better security and better privacy. Now, since this opportunistic encryption, and anyone who can do simple man-in-the-middle attacks can strip away the one line from the responding server that says, yes, I do support Start TLS. And if you strip away that one single line, you will have downgraded the attack to do the entire mail transfer using plain text, which is not good. So in the future, what we will see is essentially this. It's at the moment now, it's an IETF draft, and it's authored by Victor Duchovny and a few other guys known from the Postfix universe. And what they are going to do is to use Dane TLS and use DNSSEC to make it a lot more robust. It says, as you can read here, I mean, this memo describes the downgrade-resistant protocol for SMTP transport security between mail transfer agents based on the DNS-based authentication of named entities, Dane TLSA DNS record. Read the IETF draft. It's good, it's long, and it's really explanatory on this one. Now, the thing is, to deploy DNSSEC and to deploy all this, it's going to take a lot of time, many, many years into the future before this happens. The top-level domain in Norway, where I live, .no, haven't been DNSSEC signed yet. So essentially, you can't deploy this in Norway yet. And the same applies for most countries around the world. And because of that, I'm also really happy to say that we have Jan from EFF, and she will do a talk later today on track 2 at 1840. However, EFF is making StarTLS resistant to active attacks with the StarTLS Everywhere project. I'm really happy to have them here. So, excellent, yeah. And with that, I will say thank you and questions now. Later on, I will actually be here for the full 2 days. I will also be attending DEF CON, and I will also do this talk essentially together with Jan at the Crypto and Privacy Village at DEF CON on Friday at 2:30. Yeah. Russ.
Sure. So do all of the major webmail providers, Outlook.com, Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, do all of those support Start TLS properly and have things set up right?
No, there are those that doesn't support Start TLS yet, and there are also that haven't really configured it as appropriate that, at least I would like to see them do it. And it's not just the big service providers, but, there are also, should we say, government agencies. They have some work to do, without doubt, around the world. But, the way that especially EFF and ACLU are putting pressure on this in the US, I'm really happy to see that happening here. I can also tell you that I'm working with the Norwegian government. In the Norwegian government, there's a standardization body for, making the government administration in Norway be completely digital, move away from paper and sending out letters in normal mail to people. And I've been working with them now for approximately 2 years. And I was hoping that they would actually say that we recommend and will prefer RFC 3207 to become a standard for all government agencies in Norway. Everybody should use it, period. They haven't made a decision yet. I am seriously hoping they will make that decision sometime during this fall, before Christmas. And if they do, I think Norway will be the very first government in the world saying we recommend to use Start TLS for encrypting absolutely all mail going in and out of any Norwegian government body, period.
First, just a quick thing. Okay, to get around the opportunistic optionality of it, you can use port 587, which requires Start TLS. But
the problem is there are even fewer people and companies supporting that. So.
Fine. If you're not also looking at POP and IMAP in this picture, you're losing a huge amount. We've seen lots of people's passwords stolen because their ISP's email system is entirely unencrypted. So a lot of people using their cable company's email or whatever.
Usually I would do a 45 to 60-minute talk, and then I would show you a diagram of absolutely all the internet service providers pretty much that operates in Norway and their current status with Start TLS and also with SSL, TLS and Start TLS support for both POP and IMAP. The numbers are not good, but yes. And that's also one of the things that I'm talking to Einar about, whether we should also implement in this starttls.info site, if we should also verify POP and IMAP servers of these services as well. We started with SMTP. So.
Do you want to do questions for 5 more minutes while they get set up? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, if there are any more questions, we can, yeah. Okay, yeah, there are more questions.
So I'm Chris with the ACLU. I just want, hi. So I just want everyone to understand how important this work is and how much of a change we've seen in the last 6 to 9 months. And having the starttls.info website has been really powerful in getting that change, because it's something, it allows those of us who do the harassment side of things to have a simple URL that we can include in an email. Yeah. So I don't talk to the technical teams at companies. I talk to the lawyers, and I threaten companies. And by having a simple URL that I can include in an email that shows that a company getting an F score, that's really powerful. And so the website that you've done, thank you so much for your work. I mean, this is making passive bulk surveillance way more expensive. And you know, there are still a number of really big providers in the United States who are holding out. Cox, Charter, Verizon, AT&T, these are the biggest US providers that are still not doing it. And then, as you said, a number of government agencies, but we will bully them to 100% eventually. And this website is really making everything possible. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
And if you're okay, we have to stop 5 minutes before.
Okay, we have to stop 5 minutes before, but I mean, I'll be around so we can discuss more. Yeah. Okay. A very short break, and we'll set up for the next one.